right, this is Right on SC, and I'm going to visit here real quickly with Tara Alemany about her upcoming summit. It's next week, and I'm super excited to share this with our audience. So let's get it going. Tara, I'm so excited to see you again. So we talked a week ago where I recorded my session for your summit that's coming up next week. And you were really busy last week recording a whole bunch of sessions. And then you've got all these live sessions too. So tell everybody about the Publish with Purpose Summit. What is it all about? Emerald Lake Books is the sponsor. So talk to us.
Yeah, so I am the founder of Emerald Lake Books, and one of the things that's always been very important to me is really digging deep into this industry and figuring out what makes it tick. How does it work? How do you get things done? And so when we started publishing books for other authors, one of the things that was a core ingredient of our process was training and coaching our authors on how to market and launch their books. And so along the way, we've created courses around this. We've done a summit in the past related to this. It's the subject of one of my books, Published with Purpose. And so this is just another continuation of this. I've brought together some of the best industry experts I know to talk about topics that I think are really relevant to any author who is trying to promote or publish their book, whether they're going a traditional route, self-publishing, or working with a boutique publisher like ourselves. So we've got some great content coming up, and I'm really excited about it. We have 22 different talks with a variety of different speakers. We even have one interview where there's 3 of us in conversation, which was a lot of fun to coordinate. But I like doing these interview style ones because they're much more energetic. There's a lot more conversation and give and take as opposed to the PowerPoint slides ones that you just kind of, after a while, get kind of dreary.
Yeah, there's a sense of like death by PowerPoint, right? But in our conversation, it did feel like there was a lot more energy where it was just the 2 of us having a conversation. And so as people are logging into the summit and they're experiencing these pre-recorded sessions, they'll get a feeling of almost like eavesdropping on you discussing this very important topic with somebody else. So give us a sense of what some of these topics are.
There's a wide variety of them. So the first day kind of focuses on pre-publication type things. So we get into talking about understanding your comparative titles. We talk about publishing industry standards. And so what are those and how do you make sure your book aligns with them, conforms to them? We talk about how to get beta readers. When you go to the next day really is more about getting reviews and using social media. So we have one individual who's going to be speaking, Ashley Renard, who wrote a memoir that, due to her social media strategies, sold 10,000 copies since May 2021.
Wow.
So we're talking in just a few months. And so we really dig into how did that happen? What made it work? How does she figure out how to do all that? But we also talk with the publisher and editor-in-chief from Forward Reviews about what trade reviews are and why they're important to authors. When you get to the third day of the summit, this being the Thursday part of it, the third day has really more about how to create more visibility and publicity for your content. So that's the day that you're on in terms of working with getting into book clubs, but we also talk about how to get publicity, how to generate lead magnets that go along with your book to be able to get people to engage and reach out to you, a number of different topics. And so between those 3 days of pre-recorded content, it's sandwiched with Monday and Friday. Monday, we have an opening social networking hour with the attendees to get to know one another, but also to meet some of the speakers who attend. And we'll have a closing similar social hour on Friday. And then each day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there's a Meet the Expert session. And in those sessions, we allow the attendees to get together with the experts whose presentations dropped the day before. So you have about 35 hours in which to watch those presentations and then come and meet the experts and ask your specific questions so that you can not just learn this information and kind of eavesdrop on these conversations, but figure out how to apply it to your own unique circumstances.
Yeah, and keep track of your questions that you have while you're watching it, and then get into that session with the experts and be able to ask them those direct questions. So it's such a great add-on to it, right? So what I love about the digital summit, I'm going to go ahead and put the website up here so people can go and see the full schedule from beginning to end. What I love about the digital summit is that you aren't left out of sessions just because they're concurrent. So if you go into the one session, but like if you're live on site and you choose ballroom A because you think you're going to be more interested in this, but ballroom B is having something you also really want want to go to, but you can't see them both at the same time. But with this, with the virtual summit, you're able to experience all of these sessions. So the people who buy that ticket to go into Summit 2021 are able to have access to all of this content. And it's not just the week of, it's actually for a few days afterwards as well. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, about when does the kickoff and how long will the content be available?
Right. So we kick off Monday. So it's coming up October 18th. The content is going to be available. So all of those interviews will be available through January 22nd of 2022. So you have 3 months to be able to digest everything. Now we do recommend doing it during the summit week simply so that you can take advantage of those live sessions,
Right.
because those live sessions, you want to come primed with the questions based on what you've just heard, as opposed to questions that's already covered in the topics that the interviews were about. But still, you have 3 months to go through it, rewatch things, take notes. All of our speakers have generously indicated that people can follow up with them after the summit. Just say they came from the summit. So if you do have questions, they can be answered later. But the live sessions are the best way to do it because you have that FaceTime with one another. You establish connections.
Yeah, that networking piece is so valuable. We see that in person conferences and also in our virtual conferences. That if you can be face to face, even via Zoom, it makes it a lot easier to go ahead and get that stuff taken care of. I think authors should invest in their education and invest in themselves and building this particular part of them. How many hours do you expect these folks are going to give you per day or for the whole week? What do you think?
Are you talking about the
The
attendees?
attendees,
So
yeah.
the attendees, so per day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's about 6 hours of content per day, sometimes a little
Wow.
bit more. So the middle Wednesday, Ashley Renard's conversation, she's the one with the memoir, went an hour and 20 minutes on its own. A lot of the other sessions are 45 minutes to an hour.
Right.
So, there's a lot of good content there, but, you pick and choose the things that are most relevant for you. We have a couple of topics that are geared specifically towards, more children's book authors. And, not everybody is doing a children's book. So maybe those are ones that you don't necessarily need to spend time on. But there's a lot of stuff that is relevant regardless of what genre you write for. So you figure it out. And then, of course, if you decide to attend the live sessions, that adds another hour to it. So it can
Yeah.
be as many as 7 hours, but it's going to be worth it.
So much to offer and so much to coordinate. And this is not the first year you've done this, though. So talk about how it's grown from previous terms.
So we did this the first time in 2019, and we did it actually because the book is inspired, or so the conference is inspired by the book that I wrote. So in April 2019, my book came out called Publish with Purpose, and it really is about making connections with your ideal readers, knowing what you as an author want to achieve with writing your book, and really understanding how that is going to have an impact on the world around you. And so those are the three core things that come from the book. And so we expanded that into the summit the first year. And that was a huge learning curve. I have to admit, I'm a bit of a techno geek. I love tools, and I have too many of them. And I had managed to get a lifetime deal to a platform called Hey Summit. So, of course, if I was going to be able to play with the lifetime deal that I got, I had to put on a summit. So that's how that happened. And then, of course, last year was the pandemic, and certainly plenty of people were doing summits last year. Unfortunately, I had a death in the family, and so as a result, I opted not to do anything last year. But when we were working on our business plan for this year, it was like, well, are we doing it again, or are we not? Are we letting it go, or what are we doing? And so we decided to give it another shot just to see, what people's responses were, because when we surveyed everyone at the end of the 2019 summit and asked how many of them would attend it a second time, 96% of them said they wanted to come to another one.
Wow, what a tremendous value you were providing.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So, when you have that kind of feedback from a poll saying, yes, we want more of this, it's like, okay, we have to create more of this. So that's what we've done.
So I always think about publishers as being constantly inundated by writers like myself looking for an opportunity, right? So please publish my book, please publish my book. I don't think of them as having to build their own audience or having to build their own following. But how long has Emerald Lake Books been around? And tell us a little bit about your community and the organization, the writers and the editors and designers and all that are part of the Emerald Lakes family.
So, Emerald Lake Books was founded 7 years ago, so we're still kind of young, but not too young. We've gotten our chops in along the way. We have about 3 dozen titles in our catalog. So, it keeps us busy. Primarily, this started out as just me. And then in 2016, my partner, Mark Gerber, joined me. I'd been subcontracting work out to him previously, and he is our art director. So he's responsible for everything that's related to the interior layout, cover design, all of the visual aspects, including downloads, branded downloads that go along with the book, things like that. I am responsible for the running of the company, the project management with the clients. I do all of the coaching with the client, with our authors, things like that. But then we have a project team that includes my assistant, Leah, as well as another editor named Blaze. We have our publicist, Paul, who writes all of our press releases. We have Christine, who does all of our ebook conversions. So we've got a nice little group of people that each have their role within the organization.
And then as you all are building out your community of authors, right? Who is primarily attracted to Emerald Lake Books? I mean, are there specific genres that are querying you guys?
So we started out initially because I started my first company at the age of 19, and I've kind of been a serial entrepreneur. And so we started out specifically focusing on authors who wanted to use a book to build a business or brand to begin with, because we go beyond just making sure you have a high quality product, but how are you going to take people from the written page to reaching out to you, to engaging with you in
Right.
some way, and especially to potentially hiring you to work with you. And so we thought that that was, really where our focus was going to be. But what we found is we had so many great books submitted to us along the way that it really came down more to focusing on people who had positive messages, something that was life affirming, that really helped people in some way, shape, or form, whether that was through entertainment value or new knowledge or self help or whatever. So we actually, at this point in time, work with fiction authors as well as nonfiction. Many of our fiction authors have published multiple books with us because their intent is to try and be a professional author. So we still bring that business aspect to it in terms of how are you going to put together the infrastructure to support growing this as a business. Because honestly, many authors forget the fact that as soon as you've released a book, you've gone into business.
Right.
You have a product, you have to sell it, you have to market it, and how are you going to do that? And so
Yep.
we work with a lot of people who are interested in having the knowledge and expertise of how to do that. So while we're working on production aspects of a book, we also are focusing on a lot of the coaching of the clients. We have a homework system that we have where from the beginning onwards, there's about 65 homework assignments that get sent out along the way that mean incrementally the author is getting closer and closer to having everything in place that they need for the launch of their book and to understand how they can most effectively market it.
That is awesome. So this process here, this program, this community that you're building, everything you're doing, is this what you thought you would be doing 10 years ago when you thought of my life as an entrepreneur? I believe I'll be in the digital publishing space. Was that something that you think you're realizing the dream?
No. No, not at all. I think 10 years ago, I was completely clueless that this is the direction I was gonna head in. 10 years ago, I had a business called Alaweb Social Marketing. It was focused on, website design and social media training for, eventually, it was for specifically for authors and speakers. It started out as small businesses. It took me a year and a half of having authors and speakers organically reach out to me for help, and small businesses needing to be convinced that they needed my help for me to even realize that I was targeting the wrong audience. And so after a while, I'd been in a mastermind where a number of my mastermind participant fellows were writing books and asked for my help because my first company, I was a technical writer. So I knew about editing, I knew about formatting, design, all of that. And so I did about 7 or 8 projects like that where nothing was pointing back to me. And so I thought, all right, well, I need to put together a brand. And it'll be a division of Alaweb Social Marketing, and it will focus on helping people publish books. Within 6 months, Alaweb didn't exist anymore. I didn't have Alaweb clients coming in. I had Emerald Lake Books clients coming in wanting to work with us. And that was through basically 3 different things. One was newspaper articles that people wrote about us and what we were doing and what was innovative about us. It was referrals, word of mouth. And then it was through conferences, speaking at different events and getting out there and getting people to know who we are and how we were different.
It's awesome that you've got this track record for having built your own business, marketed your own business, and then be able to say to the authors, like, hey, I know what it's going to be like when you go to start your own business as an entrepreneur because I have been an entrepreneur. I've been able to do this too. So it's great to have that authenticity and to have that personal experience. This summit is super exciting. It's the emeraldbooks.com/summit 2021 is the link to go to. I'm also going to put the link that's my affiliate link in the YouTube post here and in the Facebook post there. But is there anything specific you think people need to know about this summit other than they got to attend? They got to be part of this.
I think they got to attend. They got to be part of this. I think that the nice thing is that they're going to see speakers that they haven't seen before. A lot of times you go to a conference and you tend to see the same speakers that you see everywhere. And in this instance, what I've done is I've pulled speakers from different facets of my life. And so, some of them, one of them isn't even in the publishing industry, and yet she has great content for authors. And so what we did is took her usual content and we repurposed it for, how does this apply to authors? How do you use video marketing to grow your brand as an author, especially because so many of us are introverts and being on camera is the last thing we want to do. So
Right.
how do you do that? And so we've got a great lineup of speakers, and I couldn't be more proud of this particular summit. So I hope everybody's there.
Well, it's going to be great. And I hope people will be able to follow the link and get registered for it. It kicks off on Monday with an evening event, a get to know you happy hour, 3 packed full days of content on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then on Friday, some more live and in-person meet and greet and a happy hour to finish it off. And I'm a big fan of that. So.
And on Friday, there's actually some additional content as well, but it's a little bit, it's different than what's been in the earlier days. Because Friday we have one talk that's actually a webinar that I've done quite often on the overview of a book launch, and the other we're pulling a talk from the 2019 vault out, and it was called Invisible Design and Other Intangibles That Sell More Books. Because the honest thing is that when you design a book, if it's done properly, you don't notice it. It's only when it's done poorly that it's recognizable. And so we
Right.
talk about how do you go about identifying those design elements that really are important.
That's going to be such a huge learning for people as well. I have a friend who worked with a small press on her very first novel, and we just ended up, now it's been, I guess, 8 or 9 years ago, we just ended up reissuing it through Chrysalis Press because the original design was so flawed, and she didn't know. She was a new author. It was a small press, and she just didn't have any idea that the expertise really wasn't there. And then once it was out and people started, responding to it, then she kind of got an understanding of like, this isn't the quality product that I was hoping it was going to be. And so once the rights reverted back to her, we went ahead and reissued it with Chrysalis. It's a beautiful book now, right? And so
Yes.
I think it's going to be great for people to be able to see that content and say, okay, these are the things I need to be looking for when I do sign with a small press. If I take a look at some of the work that they've done in the past, I want to make sure I'm picking up on these design elements and I can recognize a good product when I see it. So this will be great. Listen, the content sounds fantastic. I'm excited to be part of it. Thank you so much for including me. And in the meantime, we'll share this with our Write On SC audience, and hopefully we'll get some of our South Carolina Writers Association and Write On SC membership in here to be part of the summit. So thank you so much, Tara, for doing this work. It's really good work that you're doing for all of our writing community. And as we're 500 to 600 books a day are being published right now. So there's a ton of people out there with a dream to write a book, and you're making that dream come true. So thank you so much, Tara.
Thanks for having me, Kasie, and thanks for participating in the summit. It really is valuable content that you're providing to our audience as well.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, I'm here to serve, man. Doing the best I can. All right.
Mhm.
Thank you.